Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mike from Forward Observer and Gray Zone Activity. By the way, thanks for shifting some of your attention over to this channel. This is more my personal channel, and I'll be talking about training stuff as well. Listen, my wife and I just got back from another run to Sam's Club. I can't tell you how many of these trips we've made, but it's been towards incremental preparedness for what potentially could happen over the next 30 days to 3 years and beyond. So I'm sure everyone's heard by now. We've been talking about it over at Forward Observer. Dustin really has, about this potential for conflict with Russia. Right now, it does not appear that it's going to be a conventional conflict based on what Biden said earlier this week. That could change next week, could change in 3 months, who knows. One of the things that we need to consider when we're talking about a peer adversary or near peer adversary is that the threat, that war is not just going to be over there. This is not going to be an over there war, because we have this thing called multi-domain warfare now, multi-domain conflict, which means that it's going to be cyber and it's going to be information. It could be space war, where one of those foreign countries says, well, do I want to allow the United States to mobilize and get all of their personnel and their equipment, all their munitions over here to the European theater, over here to the Indo-Pacific theater, because we don't have enough stuff over there. We got to move it. Do I want to allow the United States to bring all that stuff over here, or do I want to try to disrupt their ability to mobilize and deploy those forces? And if I want to disrupt them from doing that, how do we do that? Well, do we launch cyber attacks against oil and gas? Do we attack their power grid? Do we attack their GPS systems and communication satellites? What can we do to cripple the United States, as long as it doesn't go nuclear? What can we do to cripple the United States just enough that things get really bad for their country, and maybe you turn the opinion of the public opinion against this conflict? Remember, this is a big thing that Ho Chi Minh and Giap saw about the Vietnam War and the whole Indochina thing, is that, look, that conflict was won. That's a political war that was won here in the United States by turning public opinion against the war. So, given Russia and China's predilection towards information war, are there going to be psychological operations and information operations targeting the American public? Absolutely, there will be. I look at this Russia thing and I say, okay, I don't know exactly what the likelihood is that something catastrophic affects the United States in terms of a cyber attack. But let's just say, I don't even know how to baseline that, but let's just say it's 1%. Okay, so 1%. One time it's going to happen, 99 times it doesn't, if you replay the scenario 100 times, right? And it may be more than 1%, maybe less than 1%, again, I don't know. But now, then that's the risk over the next 30 days and beyond, as Russia is preparing to invade Ukraine. And then you double that, because now we're dealing with China, because that's another beast. Probably in the next 3 years, I imagine, this is what also Max put out in last week's report. At some point in the next 3 years, we may be looking at a similar scenario with China. Also in the next 3 years, we're going to have the 2024 presidential election. So look, I look at that and I say, those are 3 events where things could go very badly. Things could go wrong with 3 massive major events that we're going to have to deal with as Americans. Now, a buddy of mine, as Americans, we're going to have to deal with it because there will be second and third and fourth and fifth order effects, and that's going to trickle on down. And that's, again, why we do an area study, because we can get tied up in the axles about, what's the strategic picture look like with this war between U.S. and China. What is really going to affect you is what happens on your street. So if you haven't done your area study and you haven't started looking at the downstream effects, how is a stock market crash, or how is an EMP, or how is a nuclear war, or how is a whatever doomsday prepper thing that people think is going to happen in the future. I'm not saying that stuff won't happen. I'm just saying it's not high. Maybe a stock market crash is likely. But an EMP, nuclear war, I don't think that's likely. But the likelihood is not zero. If you can't look at that and determine what the follow-on effects are going to be, how that's going to affect you locally on your doorstep, and on your street and in your town or community, in your county, then you are not really prepared. You're not preparing for those effects, and you should be, because you don't prepare for an EMP. You prepare for the effects of an EMP. And if you want to know what the local effects are, you got to do your air study. At any rate, the overall point I want to make here is, look, over the next 3 years, we got some massive hurdles that we need to be preparing for. A buddy of mine's a pilot, and he told me that pilots spend 99% of their time preparing for the 1% of the time that things go wrong. Because you don't really need to prepare when things go right, because the plane's on autopilot and it's landing itself and it's doing whatever else it's doing. Or, the pilot's landing in perfect conditions and you don't have to worry about it beyond whatever training they have. So when I look at training, I look at let's say a worst case scenario. The worse case the scenario, the more plans and preparation you need to have made for that. Because we can weather a 72-hour problem. If let's just say Biden does commit U.S. troops, maybe special operations, obviously we're going to provide lethal munitions to the Ukrainians. We're probably going to provide targeting intelligence for them. I don't know. Maybe we provide air power to try to prevent that Russian invasion of the rest of Ukraine there, or at least up to the Dnieper River. I look at that and I say, well, what's Russia going to do in response? If we start bombing Russian troops, are they going to start launching cyber attacks? That's the 1%. And God forbid if some Russian missile kills a U.S. soldier in Ukraine, because that's going to give the U.S. carte blanche justification for going to war. So at any rate, let's just say that's the 1% of things that can go wrong. That's what you got to be preparing for. You don't have to prepare for when things go right. So at any rate, my wife and I just got back from Sam's Club. I can't tell you how many of those Sam's Clubs we've made over time. Look, for a long time. I started reading survival blog back in like 2008 when I was in Iraq, and I got freaked out because I thought the world was ending. And the more time I spent, kind of looking at things, the more I kind of realized, like, yeah, it's bad, but the world's going to keep spinning. Since 2008, I can't tell you the number of times, the number of predictions that I've seen. Oh, the world's ending. Oh, this is it. The SHTF. This is the big one. Like Fred Sanford. This is the big one, Elizabeth. I can't tell you how many of those predictions that have come and gone have been wrong. And the people forget about them. And they keep listening to the same guy that's made this prediction 5 or 10 times. But I say that this is my conclusion here. I feel like when I start to get a little bit freaked out, like the stuff's it could be real. Because I don't fly off the handle. I don't, I try to remain like pretty even keel, look at things like at a very have an analytic perspective on things. Balance things out and realize that the more extreme the prediction, the less likely it is to be true. But low frequency events do happen. And that's the stuff you really got to prepare for. So at any rate, I just want to let you know, I'm growing more concerned. And if I'm growing more concerned, I think Americans should be growing more concerned too. I'm not to the point where like my hair's on fire and I'm freaking out and I'm telling you the world is ending. We could get there in the next several years. We probably won't get there in the next several months. But we could. The likelihood is not zero. So I say this because I want to let everyone know you should now is the time to start, I think, kicking up your level of preparedness. Now's the time to keep fuel levels in your vehicle topped off. If you keep fuel at your house, I just bought some more jerry cans the other day because I'm going to put diesel fuel in them. And I talked to a guy in our preparedness group or mutual assistance group. He's got a 500-gallon diesel tank. Okay, great. We're going to go fill that thing up. And there has been a sense of urgency for our local preparedness network here. And as a matter of fact, we got a meeting coming up in a week to talk about this stuff. So I encourage you, if you haven't already, start to kick up your level of preparedness and get ready. Because if it's not, I think the likelihood that stuff goes sideways for us here domestically for this thing with Russia and Ukraine is relatively low. For China, it's relatively high. And for the 2024 presidential election, I don't know. I don't see how we can have two quote unquote illegitimate elections, and this just the third election, whoever wins is going to be like, oh yeah, that was a super clean election. Yeah, we've 100% free and fair election. I don't know that we'll ever have an election that's perceived that way. So you got at most you have 3 years. That's the way I look at it. And if some, by God's blessing, I don't know, we get through all these three events relatively unscathed. I don't know what else is going to come after that, but I'm sure there'll be. Well, there's the end of the American Empire. I mean, we're living through it. I've talked about that a lot. If you haven't already, go back and watch my 2019 series on understanding Civil War II. I have a book coming out in February, which is an update to that 2019 video series. I will link that in the description below. And that's all I wanted to get across. So thanks for watching. I certainly appreciate your support. Like this video and subscribe if you want more. And until next time, be well and stay out front.